Hello everyone, I'm Renzo MOCs and welcome back to another Bionicle MOC review. Today we're taking a look at new Renzo characters, Samsin and Ozzymandiz. Not in that order. This is Samsin, this is Ozzymandiz, just the way the picture is organized. Don't question it. Alright, let's get right into it. So, Samsin is a character who briefly appeared at the end of Renzo episode 12. For those who don't remember, I don't blame you, he looks completely different now. Basically, he was a little dude with kind of a weird belly, and basically he had really long arms. That's it. That's all you need to remember. Other than that, you probably don't remember him, so it's not that important. And Ozzy over here, the big guy, has never been seen before and is also a character that I may or may not put in the show. I haven't really decided if he's going to be a character in Season 2 yet. I don't know, I'm just working with his character right now, so this review is either I'll scrap him after this, I'll revamp him and do something else with him, or he'll be a character in the show. I haven't decided yet. Now, Samsin here, and don't worry, it's spelled a little weird because he's an alien, so it's not just a human name, it's Samsin, but it's spelled kind of weird. Again, whatever. This is Samsin. He is a Crethon drone, so he's one of the normal type of Crethon citizens who, you know, the planet Crethon in general has kind of died out. So the idea is now that the species has kind of slowly started to go into decline. There are quite a lot of them left, but they are starting to go extinct. So Samsin here is a little engineer. Basically, he works on machines. He's a little tech guy. And he's pretty weird looking. I mentioned that he was a drone, and that's because, again, he is a small worker. He's not very strong physically, but again, he makes up for that with his smarts. He's a lot more of a, I'm going to work on the computer type of guy. He's got some weird clothing, so he's got his armor, and he's got weird baggy armor pants, and then he's got weird looking alien feet. Look at those things. Ooh. Most of the Crethon from my original Crethon review have not either been completely revamped, or just for the story-wise, most of them are getting cut out anyways because they're not gonna have a role in Renzo. They're just background characters, really. But yeah, this is what Samsin looks like now. Again, he's a lot skinnier now. This is because I kind of based his body around the female body, and even though he's not a female, what I'm trying to say is I'm trying to make him look a little bit closer to Ouroboros. So you'll notice that all the Crethon people have these sort of triple bent legs here. They all have some sort of weird insect-like feet, and they all have horns or something like that. They all specifically have some sort of antenna or horns here. Samson's here are little, they're kind of crooked, and that's part of his character. One's always twitching slightly down so you can see how nervous he is, because he's a very skittish dude, and then, he's got little blue eyes. But yeah, he also has the Paraka foot as part of his back armor or exoskeleton, whatever the frick you want to call that. Now, in Space First lore, this is not a Star Wars symbol. I don't actually know what this symbol is for anyways in Star Wars. Forgive me, I don't know anything about Star Wars. I really don't. I tried, but I just forgot what this is. Anyhow, it means something else in Renzo. Canonically, it looks pretty different. It's supposed to look different. It's supposed to be different. In the canon, obviously it's not, and that's just how it works, unfortunately. And then his hands, well, he doesn't have hands. He has little strappy, little sharp blade things, and these aren't actually that sharp. These are just like tentacle things. He can grab stuff with it. He doesn't have the best grip though, because he's got weird tentacle hands, so he's very clumsy. He drops things all the time, and then he's like, oh, I'm so sorry, and he runs around. That's not his voice, but again, this is a character who is heavily revamped from the end of Renzo episode 12, so he's pretty different. As I mentioned before, Samsin here is the engineer and also a good tech guy, so he works on weapons and stuff. And this is one of them. Yeah, this is a big boy gun. I'm actually pretty happy with how this looks. It's nothing crazy, it's just a Star Wars blaster, but I think the textures and stuff look really nice, besides the open gap there. It's got these gears, and basically this acts as the sight, and even though he can't realistically look through it because this piece is blocking it, it acts as this sort of laser sight, so it folds out, and it all kind of blends into the arm pretty seamlessly. Anyone can wear this, and then obviously it's a Star Wars blaster, so, oh, maybe not. Hold on. There we go. Little bit of a weird tight squeeze for some reason. But yeah, it's just a standard Crethon blaster. And I know what you're thinking, Renzo, wasn't Ouroboros a pacifist? Well, yes, he is, but that doesn't mean that his little dudes can't make weapons, And also, this isn't crazy kill gun or anything. It has other modes like stun and stuff like that. All of their weapons have like stun modes and stuff, so it's not primarily just shoot, explode, super high quality explodey blaster thing. You know, it is actually, it does have a stun mode, so that's what they primarily use. Now, Ozzymandiz, on the other hand, or just Ozzy for short, is a completely different type of Crethon. He's very similar to Ouroboros in stature, considering that they're both pretty decently tall, but he's much shorter than Ouroboros. Basically, he's just a beta male. Ouroboros is an alpha. That's not true, I'm joshing a bit, but you can see a lot of Ouroboros in Ozzy. You know, you have the bent legs, you have the big old feet with the claws, you have the clawed hands in general, which Ouroboros does have, but Samsin doesn't have that. That's because this particular sort of breed of Crethon, again, the Ozzy and Ouroboros share the most genetic connections, whereas Samsin is a little bit of a different type of Crethon. You know, you get what I'm saying? I wanted to make the legs look interesting, and I think they look okay. Not the best. I do like the crystals sort of coming out of the legs there. I think that has a cool look to it. And then I do really like the Star Wars pieces there for the legs. And since it's blue, it definitely, I guess it's a gray in this case, but it is like close. It's close enough to a blue, and I'd say that helps make the blue really stand out. So yeah, Ozzy also has this little skirt here. It's not a skirt in canon. It's just some sort of weird article of clothing, but I guess that skirt is the technical term if you want to be specific. Now, I really am not the biggest fan of Ozzy's proportions. I think his legs are fine, but I think his body is way too short. It feels way too hunched. You know, you have like long legs that are skinny, then you have kind of skinny and then just buffed up, but then his shoulders sit way above his actual chest. It's weird. That's the one thing I would like to fix about him. I just think he's a little too hunched. You know, I feel like he's been like crushed down a bit, and I could totally fix this. Absolutely, there are many easy ways to actually fix this character's design, but I'm not sure if I will do it, because again, I mentioned that this character may or may not even be in the show anyways. So yeah, he's got this big chest, and then he's got these arms which are weirdly small. Like, again, they're weirdly small arms. I do like how I did the shoulders there. It's nothing crazy. It's a very basic technique, but I think that looks nice. And then he's got big old sharp finger hands, and yeah, that's that. The back is also pretty bland. I mean, just look at it. It's really boring. It's kind of empty and gross looking just from the back there. Also, like I said, the shoulders sit way too high. I tried my best to kind of get them to stay in place, but they just keep articulating, and it's terrible. You may say, articulation is a good thing, though. Not when it sucks. Not when it makes the whole torso look terrible. Basically, these shoulders just do whatever the heck they want, and that makes the MOC all the worse for it. So, if I end up using this guy in Renzo, basically, you're going to expect a pretty big revamp of him, just because I really don't like how I threw this guy together. Now, he's got these blue skeleton wings thing. They're not actually wings. They're more like, again, kind of like antenna, but they don't move. They're just more or less there for decorational purposes. They move on a little bit of a half pin there, so they move around. But more often than not, they just end up folding like that, which I don't really like, but I do actually like how that looks when they're folded up. I think that looks kind of interesting, but that's not how they were supposed to be, so it does look kind of messy. And then the head is basically just Samson's head, but he has a purple eye because he got his eye cut or something. I don't know. He's got real big spiky antenna there. You can see they're just very ornate and crazy looking. I also don't like this. Again, it really is kind of goofy looking, and I know that's what they look like, but it just doesn't really work for Ozzy. I'd imagine him having a different head, probably closer to Ouroboros, so this just kind of looks silly, honestly. Okay, now, you want to talk silly? Alright, let's take a look at this. So, Ozzy has a weapon. You know, he's the big Hulk of the group, so he's got to come with something. And what I ended up giving him was a giant chainsaw sword thing. I don't know why. I came up with the idea for the character, and I was like, hey, you know what would make this character look better? A giant chainsaw thing. Yeah, there we go. You can see hand isn't even fully like holding it, like his thumb is like bent way back, and it's too unwieldy. It's just a giant chainsaw. Like, it's not even a good build either. It's just stupid looking. And then he's got a little wrecking ball chain at the end of it. It's lazy. It's not a good build at all. It's just, I was playing around with weapons, and I'm like, I'll give him a giant chainsaw thing. And then I realized that it doesn't actually look good, and then it makes his stability awful, so he's never gonna freaking have this thing unless I heavily revamp it. I also just want to mention that Ozzy was heavily inspired by Call Obsidian. as were most of the people in Ouroboros' group. Like, they all draw some heavy inspiration from the Black Order from Infinity War. They aren't even particularly really good characters. I just like the team dynamic that they have. And it's no different here. It's pretty underwhelming, but hey, it's just, I actually mixed his personality up a bit. Instead of just being the gullible, dumb guy, I'd imagine that he actually is kind of nice, and he's like more like a British, like, go on then, sort of guy. You know, he's not super smart, but he also has a really, like, high-pitched voice. Not a high-pitched, he has a really different voice from what you may expect. Something like that. I don't know, I'm just rambling. So that was Samsin and Ozzy. I think they're okay. I like Samsin a lot just because of his character, and I like how small and compact he is. Ozzy's a mess, though. I admit, he's one of my least favorite MOCs in a long time. Which is weird. He's not even, like, that bad, but he's just unstable. He had his dumb weapon. His proportions are awkward. I'm not a fan of Ozzy, so I'm most likely going to revamp him as we go on. I don't know if I'll scrap his character entirely, because I kind of like the idea of his character, but I don't know. We'll see. It all depends on what I decide to go with at the end of the day, right? But, yeah, anyways, that's pretty much it for all of Ouroboros' like, henchmen. He doesn't have, like, a big gang or anything. This is it. So, and I say henchmen, I don't really want to talk too much about what Ouroboros is going to be in Season 2 of Renzo, but I'm very, very excited to see what I have planned. It's definitely Renzo, you know, it definitely fits. I think a lot of people are going to be building up their hopes thinking that it's going to be some massive villains or anything. That's not the case at all. It's a lot sillier and goofier than that, but yeah, that's Renzo. So, thank you guys so much for watching this next review, and I will see you guys all later. Goodbye.